Hey guys, this is Pharaoh 2091, and welcome back to Let's Play Dangan Ronpa. Last time we left off, we were continuing the class trial to discover who killed Ishimaru and Yamada, and the big thing we kind of figured out was Yamada was not actually dead when we found him in the infirmary, and that the way that his corpse moved was by him himself. He was pretending to be dead, and then moved Ishimaru's corpse. That's what we're claiming it to be. And now we were just leaving off, like, you know, the whole scrap of paper and how Yamada took it from Ishimaru. And now we're saying, like, who was the other person to receive the, that scrap of paper? And obviously it was Ishimaru. However, I can't tell who it was by, this gibberish right here. So, let's just hope it's getting a little better. I think it's this selection, just yeah, okay, it's Ishimaru, so there you go. Yes, it was Ishimaru. The person who received this note was deceased, Ishimaru. Ahem! Objection! Objection! I'm still not sure what you're getting at, but didn't you say Hiffy had that? Then that means it was Hiffy, not Kitty, who the note was summoning. By Kitty you mean Shimaru, and by Hiffy you mean Yamada, right? No shit, Sherlock! You don't need to explain every little thing! Yikes, genocide can be downright terrifying. Excuse me. Man, that was one hell of a burp there. But I can't back down now. Alright. Seriously, what the hell's up with that burp? Alright, so... oh crap. I hate when we have multiple ammunition like that, but whatever. Hiffy had a note, didn't he? How do I change the things again? No! Crap, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, there we go. Left trigger. But obviously, it was meant for Hiffy. Think back on the contents of the note. What time did the note specify they meet? 6 in the morning. Who cares what time it said? The time has nothing to do with Kitty. Oh, okay. The time mentioned in the note was 6 a.m. Something happened right around then. I just have to remember that. So, her saying it has nothing to do with Kitty or Ishimaru is wrong, because a broken wristwatch, it happened just like around 6, which means that to say it has nothing to do with Kitty is completely wrong. Oh, jeez. Okay, that burp kind of threw me off guard for whatever reason. It wasn't even that powerful, but jeez. Okay, man, my amp2 went down just because a mistake, but screw it. No, they are connected. Huh? What you yammering about, kid? Which guy? I like mumbled all that in one sentence. The meeting time mentioned in this note is 6 a.m., which is the same time Ishimaru was killed, and as his wristwatch showed us. And that's not all. There's also the meeting place specified in the note, the physics prep room. Ah, yes, that was where Ishimaru was murdered. In other words, Ishimaru was killed at the time and in the place given in this note. Isn't that sufficient evidence that Ishimaru was the intended recipient of this note? I see. If that's how it was, no objections! Okay, easy as that. So, Ish was deceived by that note, just like me. What an abhorrent, cold-hearted, abnormally inhuman dude, luring us to the temptation of outside. But hold on, why did Yamada have to know if Ishimaru was the recipient? And in his undies! That has to be because Yamada pried it from Ishimaru's dead hands. What? He took it? And what evidence do you have of this? Go on, say it. Well, the evidence showing Yamada took the note from Ishimaru after his death was none other than the scrap of paper, because as you know, these two fit together perfectly, so that makes sense. When Kirigiri and I were investigating Ishimaru's body, we found a scrap of paper clenched in his hand. If my suspicions are correct, then the torn part of the scrap of paper, just as I thought, it matches the note Yamada had. The scrap of paper Ishimaru was holding onto, and the note Yamada was hiding Exactly, they're both the same sheet of paper. Ishimaru held a fragment of the note he supposedly received, while Yamada possessed the remainder. There's only one way to explain the situation. Ishimaru dived the note held tight in his hand, Yamada attempting to rob him of it. Mistakenly left a corner of the page in Ishimaru's grip. Is that what you're suggesting here? In which case, that means Yamada knew the note was an important piece of evidence. Yes, and that in itself is evidence of Yamada's involvement. I see! The stars are aligned, dude! There's no question! Yams is intricately involved in this incident. In essence, Yams is alive right now, and he's the culprit, dude! No, that can't be. Yamada was definitely dead when we found him in our storage room. The second corpse discovery announcement we heard serves as testament to that. Then, who killed Yamada? The true culprit. He was likely murdered where we found the bodies, in our storage room, just after moving Ishimaru. Then, he was murdered in the span of time between Ishimaru's disappearance and when we found the bodies. At that time, we had all split up to search for the missing corpses, which is to say, nobody has an alibi for Yamada's murder. But me and Sakura were together. Have a little shame, would you fatatious whore? A whale? Oh my god, where the hell did that come from? Who are you calling a fat whale? Anywho, dudes, yeah, the time of death is an issue, but we've got an even bigger problem than that. An even bigger problem, you say? What kind of weapon was used to kill the Yams? Weapon? I mean, look at this. The Monokuma file says that each of the Yams had their heads split open in a similar way, with similar weapons. But dude, Justice Hammers 3 and 4 were left in the infirmary and physics prep room, you know? If the Yams was killed in the art storage room, wouldn't that mean the culprit went back and got one of those hammers off the Yams and returned the hammer to the room it came from? But isn't that a bit too risky? Now there's a surprise. You actually got something other than air in that skull of yours. I don't know if you know, it's packed to the brim, dude. Hagiri is correct. That does indeed pose a problem. The Monokuma file says that 2 of them were killed with similar weapons. The hammers 3 and 4 remain in the rooms they were originally found. Then how do you propose the culprit went about carrying off one of the hammers? I can't even imagine a possibility. Then what about Justice Hammers number 1 or 2? The ones used to attack Celeste and Yamada? They too remain in the other rooms we found them in. And anyway, they don't look like they have lethal force to them. Then... another burp. Isn't it possible something else was used as a murder weapon? There's no way it could have been anything else. They were killed with similar weapons. In which case, what was the weapon used to murder Yamada? Unless we figure out what was actually used to kill Yamada, we'll never be able to reach the truth behind these crimes. So I've got to do whatever I can to answer that question. And it's not really hard to figure out, but, you know, we'll come across it. So yeah, the washed hammer. Was the murder weapon Justice Hammer number 3 or Justice Hammer number 4? In either case, how did the culprit manage to bring his chosen weapon to the scene? Furthermore, to do so without even being seen. Presenting Justice Hammer number 5. Visit our website for more info. Anywho, all we figured out is one of the 2 hammers is the murder weapon. Is that really all? Is it really all? Yamada was murdered in the art storage room. On top of that, he and Ishimaru were killed with similar weapons, which means... Now, in the back of the art storage room, what was, you know, in the back? You know, kind of shaped like hammers. You know, there's abundance of them. And one of them was wet as of being recently washed. So, for him to say that one of the 2 hammers is a murder weapon is wrong. What about the washed hammer we found? It's in the art storage room. It would be the perfect place to have a murder weapon. Don't have to move or anything. It's right there. So I think that solves that, don't you think? The murder weapon wasn't a Justice Hammer, but some other weapon. But what other weapon? The hammers in the art storage room. Couldn't the culprit have just used one of them? Plus, all the hammers in the art storage room were covered in bits of stone and dust. except for the one, which for some reason had been washed. It was washed? I'm certain the hammer was washed because it was a true weapon used to kill Yamada. The culprit took the time to wash the hammer to get rid of the blood that had got onto it. On top of that, there's even an array of hammers of all sizes hanging on the wall in the art storage room, and several of those hammers were missing. Couldn't Justice Hammers themselves have been made using those hammers as a base? If so, it satisfies the condition that they were all killed with similar weapons. Just after bringing Ishimaru's body to the art storage room, Yamada was killed with one of those hammers. And the true culprit, the person who made Yamada their accomplice and then betrayed him, did it. No, just hold on a minute. We already discussed this. An accomplice has nothing to gain given the rules set concerning graduation from the academy. In other words, it's not possible there was an accomplice, and you should perish in thought. Accomplices are out of question. She's right, that should have been the case. It should have been, but... What's going on here? Alright. Let's see what else we can do here. According to the rules, when a collaborative crime is committed, only the person who performs the murder can make it out alive, which means there is no chance of there being an accomplice. Indeed, you are correct. But that assumes only one crime took place. In this case, 2 crimes occurred. 2 crimes? Celeste says it's not possible there was an accomplice, but can she really be so sure about that? So yeah, once again, for this phase, we want to convert ammo, and with what Kirigiri said, saying that 2 crimes occurred here. And we want to use it with what Celeste was saying where, was the statement right here, there's no chance of there being an accomplice. But if there's 2 separate crimes, then there's really not an accomplice to one thing or another. At least I would think so anyway, so... Just what are we thinking about here? But 2 separate crimes occurred. So does this really count as a collaborative effort? What do you mean by that? Naturally, having an accomplice is only out of the question in the case of there being a single crime. One murder can save only one person. By adding an accomplice, you throw the scales off balance. Throw the scales off balance? It's a matter of risk versus reward. In other words, the rumination, whatever, must be enough to offset the danger. There's no point in co-conspirating a murder if you too won't be saved. On the other hand, if you balance the scales, it's not impossible to form a mutual beneficial partnership. 2 culprits committing 2 separate murders, assisting each other in their own respective crimes. The true culprit proposes plenty Yamada in order to gain his cooperation in their crime. Most likely, Yamada was the one who killed Ishimaru. By committing his murder, Yamada lost his escape route and was forced to help a culprit commit theirs. In short, what happened today wasn't a serial murder at the hands of a single culprit, but 2 separate murders by 2 separate culprits. And the fact that it was made to look like a serial murder was all misdirection by the culprit. The disguised madman, the similar murder weapons, the body's disappearance, by giving these commonalities, the culprit made it seem as though only one crime had taken place. The culprit proposed this plan, secured his accomplice's cooperation, and in the end eliminated a big obstacle to his own success by murdering that accomplice. Which means betraying Yamada was part of the plan from the get-go. What the hell? That's the most despicable thing I've ever heard! Really? I think it was a fairly solid plan. Well, aside from the choice of accomplice. The most important characteristic of this incident was the fact that 2 crimes were disguised as one. And I'm almost positive Kirigiri had that figured out from the very beginning. And that's why she told us to think of the murders as separate incidents and not a serial murder. You're outstanding, Kirigiri. Maybe a little too much so. Almost unbelievably so. I accept the existence of an accomplice. Now, the question begs, who was the one manipulating Yamada? That is the question! The true culprit. The person who controlled Yamada and set the stage for these 2 murders. Everything we discussed up to this point, every detail of these crimes, taking all of it together, there's only one person it could be. And we're already ready to make an accusation. And this is actually, I think you guys, it's pretty easy to get here. Who's the one person here who kept, like, you know, insisting that our stuff is wrong and comes acting fishy a lot in this whole trial? And the person that, well, kind of knew a lot about what was going on. It's none other than Celeste. Right? Something seems off about her. Celeste. Oh dear, have I done something suspicious? You ruined me, but enough of the jokes. You think he's joking? Then you're saying Yamada and I work together? Goodness me, to think Yamada and I could work together. Not a chance in hell, you shit for brains! Who in their right mind will work with that gutless coward? Excuse me? I'll have you know, we do have evidence. Evidence? Yes, the two of you, the only you, did something in particular over the course of the incident. And that's the evidence the two of you were working together. Something only Yamada and Celeste did. Could it be that they... oh, I don't know, witnessed the madman? I mean, none of us ever witnessed him, supposedly. So, hit paper in there, no. But witness this person. Possibly throw us off our track. Yamada and Celeste were the only two people who ever witnessed the madman, isn't that right? Until Kirigiri found Hayakiri in just his robo-suit by the pool, nobody else saw him. I don't need your help. I'm sorry. It's just as Negi says. Yamada and Celeste were the only two to witness the madman. Given one of the two witnesses was also a culprit, it naturally cast doubt on the other's testimony. It was all a lie? After finding Yamada injured and bringing him to the infirmary, we all set out to search for the madman. Recall what Celeste said the moment we began. And she said that she saw a shadow. And because of what she claimed she saw, we all moved to the second floor. And then in order to lead us to the physics lab, she shot it from the third floor. And what did Celeste say when we were grouped on the third floor? She said that she saw him again. Okay. And after directing us toward the physics lab, it was her partner's turn to act. And that's when Yamada screamed. Okay, this all makes sense now. That was so we could split into two groups and find both the corpses at the same time? And Celeste was the one who suggested that we split up. Oh, it was. Okay. That makes sense. How's that? With Celeste and Yamada working together, every coincidence becomes a cog in the machine. And as an aside, that overblown shout of yours... oh yeah. Can't believe she even used that phrase, but whatever. They also served as a signal for Yamada, did it not? The signal saying, I've arrived at the third floor just as planned, start screaming. That's why he shouted so loudly it could be heard throughout the entire school, is it not? And then, when we found Yamada, who was playing dead in the infirmary, what you said there was also suspicious. What did she say? Everyone would have guessed that he would have been killed. You were the first one to say that he was killed, were you not, Celeste? By saying that, you made us believe that Yamada was actually dead. No way! I can't believe it! Celeste was acting? The entire time? When Yamada's body disappeared, you and Celeste were together, weren't you, Asahina? Yeah, I wasn't feeling very good, so Celeste helped me to the restroom. Then, that was... She wasn't trying to help you, Asahina. She was creating an opportunity for Yamada to escape. By themselves, they all seem like small things, but putting it all together, it all starts raising flags. Wouldn't you agree, Celeste? Whatever might you be referring to? Feigning ignorance won't save you here. You made a critical mistake. A mistake? When you first said it, I didn't give it much thought. But now I can say with certainty. that you were making that was you making a fatal mistake. And what would that be? After we heard about Yamada's corpse going missing, returning to the infirmary, you said this. She said that he's playing games, enjoying watching us run around, confused and afraid. Well, be killed like that. I too heard those words, but what about them do you believe to be suspicious? Remember, it was you, Fukawa, and I who discovered Ishimada's corpse in the physics prep room. After that, we heard from Negi that Yamada had been murdered, and you, Negi, and I left the prep room. We ran into Celeste when we stopped out in the hallway, and the four of us headed into the infirmary. Not one of us said a word about Ishimada's death before we arrived in the infirmary. When you think about it like that, Celeste's comment seems extremely out of the ordinary. Excessively so. All this about her comment being out of the ordinary, I'm not really sure what you're getting at here, man. Hey, Celeste, everyone's confused. Repeat what you said, word for word, for everyone's sake. If you're not the culprit, then there's no problem now, is there? What's Tsugami talking about? When he says something Celeste said was out of the ordinary. Maybe we'll figure that out in the next episode, guys. So, as usual, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time for Let's Play Dangan Ronpa. I'll see you guys later.